So why don't we get into what we have seen so far in the AFC? The AFC was, everybody thought was a quarterback conference, all these great quarterbacks. Russell Wilson has been a complete bust this year. Maybe it's because of the coach. Maybe it's because of the team around him. Maybe he's just not any good, okay? And that's pretty much what it's showing right now. He made a lot of money this offseason. He's getting paid definitely more handsomely than he is on the field. That's for sure. I almost said Aaron Rodgers, but Justin Herbert, the Chargers, everybody thought that this defense was going to be an elite defense. They lost so many pieces this year. Bosa might be back next week, but it's still not the same defense they started the season with. And offensively, they just have fallen off. They can't run the ball now. They can't, in certain aspects of the game, they can't even throw the ball. So it's not Justin Herbert's fault. I think it has a lot to do with the coaching and where this coaching is going. And really, the AFC East, which has been honestly the best division in football. It really has been. When you look at the Buffalo Bills, and everybody says, well, they've looked mediocre the last. They've won 10 games. I mean, how mediocre can they be? They're 10-3. I mean, the Dolphins haven't looked good the last 2 weeks, but the Dolphins have looked good. They have Waddle and Tyreek Hill, who's the leading wide receiver in the league with catches and yards per catch. And I mean, he's been unbelievable. And then you have the Patriots. Even though they're not the same old Patriots, they have slowly but surely found ways to win and be very gritty. And this secondary has been a lot better than anybody thought they were going to be. They're playing good football. And then the Jets. What are your thoughts to the AFC and this race for the playoffs? Who do you think will win out and make the playoffs out of the 4 teams that are going to be fighting for it for the next 4 weeks?
Out of the AFC East teams, or
yes.
just yeah?
The AFC
so I mean,
East.
I think the Bills are a lock, right? I mean, I think right now they're the 1 seed, so they're in. Exactly what you said, right? Everybody's saying, oh, they've looked bad, but you know what? They've won, right? And good teams find a way to win, and I think that says a lot about them. I think it also says a lot that they didn't go and pay a fortune for OBJ. They took Cole Beasley instead, so you know they know what they need to succeed. I think they're going to do everything that they need to do to get there.
Great move, by the way. Even though he hasn't played, I think Cole Beasley, he was a big piece of this offense, and he knows Josh Allen. He knows how he plays. He knows how to go for the ball. So I think it was a great move by them.
Agreed. So the Bills are in. I think the Dolphins are in. One thing, Nick Daniels, everybody, will say it. He's been a revelation for that team. In the last couple of weeks, it seems like teams have started to figure him out. But great coaches adjust, right? And I think he is a great coach, and he will adjust, and the Dolphins will be fine. I think Terron Armstead not being healthy has been a huge part of that, right? Tua has been getting hit a little bit more. There's been some tough matchups there, but I do think the Dolphins find a way to get in. Now you're talking about the Jets and the Patriots as the 2 remaining teams fighting for some of those last playoff spots. I think the Jets with Mike White are going to have a really hard time, but I think that they very well could find a way to get in there. Do they? I think ultimately no, sadly. But you know what? Again, that might be to the Jets' benefit, right? It just makes your draft pick that much more valuable this year, and it might help you go get a quarterback. I also don't think that the Patriots are going to make it in because of I think a team like the Chargers, they get Bosa back, right? Like a team like that is going to be much more competitive towards the end of the season than I think the Patriots.
They also get Derwin James back in the next week or so too. So
right.
that gives them a nice secondary piece that even though their secondary has played very well, even last week in their game, their secondary played all world. And that's what you need. Mm-hmm. And that says a lot about obviously the defensive minded coach that they have over there, who I think I don't know if he will get a coaching job in the offseason because I think there'll be 5 jobs that'll be available. But there are quite a few coaches defensive-minded coaches that could get a job, including the New York Jets, Ehrlich, who a lot of people like what the Jets have done this year.
They said DeMeco Ryans for the 49ers is like a guaranteed lock to get a head coaching job next year.
100%, yes.
Okay, Chris, what you were saying?
No, yeah, that's all true. No, I just wanted to point out as well, Justin Herbert, let's just talk about him for a second, right? I think they said he's had he doesn't have a receiver within the top 20 in receiving yards or something like
Which
that.
Is
yet
crazy.
He's thrown for over 3,000 yards already. Justin Herbert doing this without Rashawn Slater, who got hurt very early on in the season, right? Who in all 22 was our second or third ranked tackle overall, still able to be successful the way he's been, has been absolutely incredible. I think it says a lot about him. And to your point, right, that defense has been playing with a lot of missing pieces and being able to compete. But they have those pieces coming back. I think Herbert has shown that he'll just put the team on his back and play good, solid football. And he'll find a way to make plays. So with that combination, I'm very confident that the Chargers will.
I'm sure the
find
Dolphins
a way to get in.
I'm sure the Dolphins are really upset after drafting Tua when they could have had Justin Herbert, and that will come back to maybe haunt them. Even though Tua's had a good season, it still should worry you as a Miami Dolphin fan when you play against the same quarterback that you could have drafted, and that quarterback absolutely demolished you, cut you apart, cut your defense apart, and you have one of the top 10 defenses in all of football. That says a lot about Justin Herbert and what he has done and really put the team on his back.
They should have won that game by like 14 at least. Because but then again, the Chargers, they'll find a way to make it weirder and make it a lot closer than it should be.
So what do we think about Tua? So Tua in all 22, he was kind of like a middle of the pack quarterback at the beginning of this year, but he's played from a PFF grading perspective extremely well this year. He's, I believe, the top graded quarterback. If he's not, he's number 2. And I think we've seen that throughout the season. But do we think that he, 1, can stay healthy, and 2, does he have what it takes to lead this team to the Super Bowl, right? Because that's the ultimate goal. Is he a good enough player to get that team there?
I think he is. I think you can win with Tua. I don't know in the big game, is he going to choke? We have seen quarterbacks of his talents, Lamar Jackson being one of them, likes to use his legs, move out of the pocket and throw the ball. Even though Tua is more accurate than Lamar Jackson, there's no question that he is. Lamar Jackson's faster, and he can get out of trouble outside of the pocket. I don't know if Tua can, and this is a guy that has like 1 million concussions. Is he willing to get hit again and be out for a significant amount of time? Or maybe his career is over if he gets hit like that again. So I think that's the most important thing, is protecting this guy. And in the offseason, in the draft, I think that's where the Dolphins need to figure out where they're going with. I don't even think they have a first-round draft pick this year.
No, they don't, because they decided to Tampa for Tom Brady and Sean Payton. So
there you go. So Miami is already behind the 8 ball going into the draft this year, and they spent a lot of money this offseason for an offensive lineman, for other pieces. Tyreek Hill being one of them, and maybe they extend Waddle at the end of the season just to probably make him happy, because in 2 years he's going to be a free agent. So I don't know where they're going to go when it comes to how they're going to spend their money, but it doesn't bode well for Miami. The Jets are going to be better. The Patriots are going to have a lot of money. They're going to be better. Buffalo needs a running back, and that's really all they're missing. If they find one, they're going to be pretty good too. So even though that division is stacked, as much as everybody says Miami is an up-and-coming team and they look like the most improved team, it would scare me if I'm a Miami Dolphin fan. I don't have a first-round draft pick this year. I have made a lot of interesting decisions in the offseason on spending money in my pocket when I'm going to have very little money in the offseason next year to spend. So it's going to be interesting on how smart the GM over there is going to be when it comes to free agency.
Yeah, and nobody's talked about it yet. I haven't heard a single person say it, but the Bradley Chubb trade, right?
Yep. Exactly.
That defense got destroyed last week. So how much of a difference is Bradley Chubb really making? That first-round pick could have been used on an offensive lineman to help Tua, right, to protect Tua. They passed on Sewell, right, for Jalen Waddle. So just passing on offensive linemen repeatedly, and Tua is still getting hit and having injuries, it's concerning to me. It's definitely concerning to me.
They haven't drafted him well either. The ones they drafted even in the first round haven't been great. Outside of Robert Hunt, who's been pretty good. Like a lot of the ones they brought in are free agents. They're not really their homegrown guys. So my question is, I know you're an NFC North guy. By the way, one of our fans actually has a comment too. Ben, who's also a Packers fan, says they should go after Jim Leonard to be their defensive coordinator.
100%.
That's definitely an interesting move. But my question is about the other two teams, Minnesota and Detroit, that have been kind of contenders. The Lions hot. They just beat the Vikings. Are they a playoff team? And the Vikings too. They're kind of like that polarizing team. Some people think they're overrated. Some people think they're legitimate and good. I think they're good, but I still think they're behind the 49ers and the Eagles. Where do you stand on the Vikings and the Lions?
Yeah, well, first I'll just say, Leonard would be a great addition to the Packers staff. Do we make him defensive coordinator? I don't know, but if we could get him to be a part of that staff, I think that'd be huge for the Green Bay Packers.
I heard Jacksonville's interested in him too. So,
come on, he's going to stay up north. Don't jinx me like that. But the Lions, right? Let's start there. This team is ready, right? They have an offensive line almost better than anyone else's in the league. And they have a defense that's now starting to come out of its shell, and those young guys are starting to make an impact. Aiden Hutchinson starting to make plays. They have guys on the interior too, right? It's so important. Dan Campbell likes that gritty guy, and they're starting to have a few of those guys in the middle. Offensively, Jamison Williams coming back. I think you don't need to have with a receiver like that, and people are going to, again, right? They're going to talk about fantasy football. Jamison Williams, I think, has only had one catch in 2 games, and it was that long touchdown. So he hasn't been production from a fantasy perspective, but all 22 fantasy, he has been successful, right? Because sometimes you just need to do your job. And if a guy's running a 4-2, 4-3, all you need him to do is take the top off, because defenses are going to sit back and it's going to open up the underneath, right? And that's what the Lions need. You have a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown who can take advantage of that. You have Swift out of the backfield that's starting to come out as well. So it's really just about Jared Goff. And is Jared Goff a good enough quarterback to get there? And honestly, I think that he's good enough to take you to the playoffs. He's been to the Super Bowl, but that was behind, Sean McVay's offense.
Oh, hold on. Big mouth McVay.
And that was also behind a terrible non-PI call, too.
Okay, I stepped on a landmine there, I can tell.
I like McVay. I just don't like the fact that
I don't like him. I think he's highly overrated.
The worst non-call.
He ruined that team, by the way. The Rams are so behind the 8 ball now, and if Matthew Stafford doesn't come back because of that spine injury, they're screwed. Okay, they're absolutely screwed.
I'm not gonna say my opinion, but I'm curious yours, right? And I'm gonna push a little button here.
Go ahead.
As a Jet fan, would you trade it? Would you trade situations?
No.
No, you wouldn't want the Super Bowl.
Nope.
Okay.
No, you know why? Because eventually the Jets are going to win. And I believe that. I think they're starting to move in that direction. And being that the NFC is the way it is, yeah, everybody will say next year the NFC is still going to be wide open because it's still going to be horrible. But to me, what the Rams are and what they're going to depend on Baker Mayfield next year. Are they going to keep Baker Mayfield going into the offseason, knowing that Matthew Stafford, who is going to be looking for a new contract if he's 100% healthy, doctors are saying that he has the same spine injury as David Wright, and we've seen how long David Wright was playing after that. Not very long. So Matthew Stafford could be done. So you're going into the offseason saying, okay, you know who my starting quarterback is? Baker Mayfield. Maybe I'll get lucky and spend a little bit of money for Jimmy G, but they're not going to have they're not going to have enough money for that because they overpaid for this guy and that guy and overpaid for that. And by the way, they don't have a draft pick until the 3rd or 4th round this coming year. So what the hell are they going to do? They're not going to trade back in. They're not going to trade next year's draft pick because they have very few of those too. So I have no idea what the Rams are going to do. And Sean McVay, if I was Sean McVay, I'd say, you know what? I'm going to leave. I'm going to let Peyton take over because Sean Payton wants one of the LA teams. You can have my team, and I could go to one of these teams that actually have draft stock that I didn't screw up all these couple of years because I wanted to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I don't know who's to blame, right? It could be Snead as well. But their strategy really is right. It's let's get rid of these first round draft picks because first round picks do have risk because the player you draft could be a bust. Get a star that we know is going to hit. And then instead of drafting with our 2nd round pick, let's trade back and let's get a couple 4th round picks and a 5th round pick so that we end up having 10 picks just at the back of the draft, right? And they get role players that way. Really high-end superstars, and then they have role players. And it's worked. But I think you're right. I think it's starting to come to kind of crumble, but they got a Super Bowl out of it. So, I think people have differing opinions.
They were lucky to win a Super Bowl last year. Lucky.
But they won it.
They won it, but they were very, very lucky.